Hello, Munich. A good day to you. It's great to be back at the Edelmetallmesse once again. As you may know, Commerce Resources is the first company that was taken to market by our parent company, Zim2 Capital, and that was in 2001. We are very fortunate to count many German shareholders as our shareholders, and we certainly are well aware of the fact that many German shareholders have bought our stock at higher prices. However, I'm here today to tell you a few simple fundamentals, mostly guided by the principle of what I will call, yes, we can. And of course, I'm quoting the previous United States President, Barack Obama, by saying, yes, we can. Ultimately, as Ryan highlighted in his presentation, there really is no magic. And ultimately, in terms of rare earth elements, or any commodity, I would suggest that standard processing is ultimately the key. It may not be magic, but essentially, you're looking at off-the-shelf processing and whether or not it works. In terms of Commerce Resources, it works. Hence, yes, we can. We can process our material. In terms of Commerce Resources and some of the shareholders who originally invested in us from Germany in, say, 2007, at that point in time, we were primarily working on these two deposits, whereas the one in northern Quebec was focused at that time on niobium. I would say there is a niobium, a world-class niobium deposit there, but we'll talk about that at another time. Overall, I would like to say with rising prices for rare earth elements right now, and also rising prices and increased demand for tantalum and niobium as well, between our two projects, we have never seen as much interest from majors than we are seeing today. In terms of the company, I'm happy to point out that in February of this year, the government of Quebec invested a relatively small amount of money, which was $1 million. And the government of Quebec, who I sat down with last week in Montreal, they are looking at exercising their warrants right now for $1.5 million, which are in the money. In terms of our board, we also have our chairman, who is one of the most well-respected men in the world of tantalum. He was the chief operating officer of the German company H.C. Stark, which was bought by the Carlyle Group in 2007. In 2008, he came on as our chairman of the board. He has considerable experience in the processing of tantalum and niobium. And in regards our tantalum project, we're also working with the metallurgist that put in place the flow sheet for the world's second largest niobium mine, which is Niobec in Quebec. Now, in terms of the Ashram project, it is located in the high north of Quebec. Ultimately, as I said earlier, mineralogy and geology and the ability to use standard processing is absolutely key. This is a commodity that is more complicated than any other commodity. So one rare earth element project, as Ryan pointed out, is not comparable to another rare earth element project. And I would only say that in our case, we share the same fundamentals as the world's largest rare earth element producers. In terms of our ability to produce a saleable commodity, you can see here that we compare favorably, we will go back. At any rate, we compare favorably to the world's largest producers of rare earth elements. There we go. You can see the Ashram project at the midpoint, comparing favorably with the world's largest producer, which is Bayan Obo. In terms of what Ryan also pointed out, there, when he spoke about didymium oxide, he means a combination of these these elements here predominantly being praseodymium and neodymium. And as you can see, we collectively lump these four magnet feed rare earth elements into a category called magnet feed. And in terms of that percentage, we have one of the highest percentages of the magnet feed material out of any project in the world. We're 1% higher than the current producer in Australia, and we're several percentages higher than the world's largest producer of rare earth elements. In terms of the deposit, it is a huge carbonatite. We have drilled it down to 585 meters, and it has consistent mineralization all the way down. The current resource totals 250 million tons, which is broken down into 1.6 million tons measured, 27.7 million tons indicated, and 219 million tons inferred. However, this resource does not include the 9,600 meters that we've drilled since this last resource was released. In terms of our mine-to-market scenario, we would put our material, once extracted, we would separate out 75% of the mass and then put that on a truck, which then goes to a port facility, which is yet to be created, and then ship it down to a downstream hydrometallurgical facility somewhere on the St. Lawrence River. In terms of improvements since the release of our preliminary economic assessment, I would most significantly point to the increase in the percentage of mineral concentrate. The preliminary economic assessment was calculated on our production of a 10% concentrate, and now we produce concentrates in the 45 to 50% range. And in addition, we have recognized the presence of a free byproduct, which is fluorspar. The fluorspar then is also what brought in the interest of the world's largest trading company, Glencore. Glencore have signed a binding MOU with us, giving us a deep discount on acid consumables in exchange for a future consideration on our fluorspar byproduct. We are currently working on finishing our pilot plant and the production of all of the samples for these companies here. You see some German companies, BASF, you see Austrian company Treibacher, and there are other companies that have contacted us in the last few months due to the rising prices, which creates more fear and more anxiety on the part of people who actually need rare earth elements to execute their business plans. Some of these companies are under non-disclosure agreements. As well, I would only point out on this slide the number of American companies that have contacted us asking for a sample. Essentially, the United States, probably more than any other single country, wants to achieve some amount of security of supply so that it does not have to depend upon China as a supplier of rare earth elements, which arguably is a moot point if you take into consideration what Ryan just said in terms of China continuing to reduce its exports and increasing its own imports. Here is the slide on Glencore or Norfalco sales, and we're very excited to be looking forward to working more with them, to delivering them this fluorspar sample, and certainly Glencore has also suggested that they might consider an investment or some kind of a partnership with us. In terms of rare earth elements and fluorspar, these are two commodities that are dominated by Chinese production. And Chinese commodities all are seeing higher prices coming from three fundamental reasons. One, rising labor costs in China. Two, the government of China is successfully shutting down illegal miners and also shutting down polluting projects. The current 5-year plan is called the Green Plan. And so China is looking to improve its environment, but the net effect of this is higher commodity prices. And so Glencore are very well aware of this in terms of the fluorspar market as well. Getting close to the end here, one of the most exciting things I would say is our new road route, which we submitted to the Quebec government. The last road route we submitted was really more of a driveway to our project. However, this road route essentially would link up 7 mining projects, which would include, just to the northwest of us, the project that is being worked on by the world's largest gold producer, Barrick, the largest miner in Quebec, Osisko, and then 5 projects by Midland. So in total, if, for example, the Quebec government decided to make an announcement of providing financing for this road, ultimately this could be seen as a benefit to 7 mining projects along this road route. In addition, this would provide a potentially significant economic benefit to the Inuit who live, the greatest community of which live in Kuujjuaq, just near the terminal of this road. Finally, in terms of Commerce Resources, we take the issues of corporate responsibility and being environmentally as sensitive as possible. And for this, we won the award from the Mineral Exploration Association 2 years ago. At the end of the day, I think my time is probably close. Okay. We have done several things since the PEA, and recently we have just processed the 2,000 meters of drill core, and those assays will be coming out, I would say, in the next 6 weeks. We've opened an office in Quebec City. We are looking forward to completing the pilot plant. And most importantly, which is not on the slide, which is very new, we've been contacted by 2 global mining engineering firms, SNC-Lavalin and also DRA Global. And they've both proposed the same thing, which is potentially financing us through the completion of the pre-feasibility study and the feasibility study. Essentially, this would be done through sweat equity internally by these 2 mining engineering firms, and they both are looking at both of our projects. So this is an exciting possibility for us. Finally, the Ashram project is a very large project, and we do not need to recreate the wheel. We have an ability to use standard processing to extremely good effect. We have a very good distribution with one of the best distributions in the magnet feed material, which is arguably the most important on an economic basis. Our flow sheet is simple, as I said earlier, and ultimately we're able to produce concentrates that are 4 to 5 times as pure as we did in our preliminary economic assessment. I would also like to say thank you to ZIM2 Capital for continuing to be our benefactor. There are some ZIM2 Capital information at the back of the hall here, and also please feel free to visit us at our booth, which is right at the front of the hall. My name is Chris Grove. I'm the president of Commerce Resources. It's been a pleasure speaking to you today. Danke.